few more minutes for folks. Oop, give it a few more minutes. Where are we? We're at 9:31.
Lisa,
Yep.
I saw someone said that they have fresh baked banana bread and is it
Oh,
blueberry bread and banana bread? I'm like,
who said that? Oh,
I
I
don't
see.
know, but I saw
Sarah
it pop
said
up
it.
in the chat.
You're gonna have to come to
Wow.
Winston to get it though.
Wow, that sounds so good with a hot cup of coffee. Oh my God.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, Sarah. Thanks a lot. All right, I think we're good. We're a good team to get going.
Mhm.
You're all right with that?
Mhm.
All right, everybody, welcome to session 3. Guess what? We're halfway through. Yay, yay, yay. We got a good session lined up today, so I'm just gonna just briefly go through, whoops, I'm going ahead of myself on my slide. Sorry about that. Um, go through the agenda for today. Today we're doing program design, management, and evaluation. So it sounds like a lot. Don't worry about it. Dr. Palmer will take us through it as usual, step by step. But first, we'll give you an overview so you can understand the big picture, and then we'll zoom right in, starting with program design, and that's where we'll learn how to build things in a way that sets us up for success. After that, we'll shift to program management, which, keeping everything running smoothly once it's up and going is important. Then, of course, program evaluation, because if you don't measure it, how do you know if it really worked, right? So think of today like building a puzzle. So we're gonna design the pieces, you're gonna manage how they fit, and then check if the picture really actually makes sense, right? So that's a good way to think about it. And then before we wrap up, we'll do, as usual, our quick session evaluation. And thank you, by the way, the feedback has been very helpful. We do look at them. And we can adjust for the next session. And then finally, we'll have a closing to tie it all together. So that's the plan for today. Nothing scary, I promise. So let's keep up the good level of interaction and let's start class, Dr. Palmer. Turning it
All
over to
right,
you.
thank you.
Mhm.
Rebecca, I see your hand.
Yeah, just two quick things I want to mention. Dr. Palmer, when we're doing our first breakout, is it by role or just mixed today? Do you remember? I couldn't remember.
I think my
Uh,
role's helpful 'cause I think,
yeah, let's go that route. We can go
Okay,
that
I
route.
can set those up. And then the
All
other
right.
thing is, for those of you that are in our LinkedIn group, we have a poll up there that I want to make sure folks have a chance to respond to that. If you're a part of the LinkedIn group or you'd like to join, you can go ahead and click on that link and go ahead and respond to the poll about for session 3.
Do you want to go ahead and share that question, Rebecca,
Or
for this session? Yep.
yeah, it asks what aspect of programming you find the most challenging, whether it's design, management, or evaluation. You can also select all of the above. It wouldn't let me do
Perfect.
none of the above, but you can abstain if none of the above is your answer. Thanks, everyone. And I'll keep an eye if there are folks who haven't joined yet. If you want to request to join, I can go ahead and approve that pretty quickly. Thanks, everybody.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. If we could go to the gallery view, hope all is well in your communities. I know that we have quite a bit of change that happens abruptly in all of our communities, and might I say, the state of North Carolina and the country as a whole. So, let us be the first to, again, thank you for the work that you do in your community. Thank you for being a part of the nonprofit sector and contributing the way that you do. Know that we are all working and in this together. And so we are here as a resource for you. Don't hesitate to reach out if needed. Remember that we do have an office hour when we are finished. We call it an office hour, but it's really like 15 minutes or 30 minutes. But it does provide a space for you to pose any questions or get our perspective on various things that you might be encountering in your community. And also, we like to celebrate too. So, you know, we can always use that space to talk about the good and great work that your organizations are doing, as well as yourself. So I just kind of wanted to say that this morning, but I also wanted to pose the question of what have you used so far in your work that we've covered? So, you know, we started off with a look at capacity, understanding the current level of capacity for your organizations, identifying what we want to work on in the coming year, introduce you to our 12 principles, and identify the 6 that we're covering in this institute. And then we spent our time last week on the topic of board governance. And so give us an idea as to what have you used so far. You can put it in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and share. We just want to do just a little bit of a check-in regarding what parts of what you've learned so far have you used?
Well, this is Lisa McMillan, and thank you for this training as well. What I have instituted is the board governance, and although our transition meeting is like the end of the year, the person who is going to run for chair is already stepped into that role, so I can step out of it. And I've already asked for more support, although not formally. So I've already asked for more support because that hadn't been what I was doing. So thank you very much for that aspect.
Thank you. Lisa, I think you're talking, but you're muted.
Of course I'm muted. I was just saying thank you to Lisa again, but I was saying I was going to call out some things that are in the chat as well. But if someone else
Okay.
wants to come off mic, please feel free. We've had gone through conversations with our ED about our board and getting them more engaged. Great. Use the board guide as a method to move forward. A lot of people have used the board governance resources. That's what I've seen so
Okay.
far, unless someone else would like to share. Fundraising principles, someone's talked about, mentioned. Great.
All right. Well, we always like to check in, you know, what's one of the things that's very important to us is your ability to take what you experience in the Institute and actually be able to go out and use these tools, and to as you're honing your skills, to actually be able to go out and apply them. And so we always like to check in and just see how that's going. Want to make sure that we're providing resources that you're able to use, because that's the reason that we're here. So just wanted to do a check-in there. If you would, I did ask you all to bring a piece of paper with you. And so did everybody remember? And then for those of you who are creative and artists, if you, I don't know if you have markers or color pencils, or if you're like, where is she going with this? Or color pencils, or crayons. How many of you own crayons? Do you still own crayons? I mean, you know, okay, all right. See, I see a yes down there. But at any rate, so I want you to get your paper, and I want you to gather your writing tools or your artistic tools. And as Lisa mentioned, our topic for today is about programming. And as we know, many of our nonprofit organizations, when we write grants, typically we are writing grants to support programs. Some of our organizations are fortunate enough that we are able to garner grant dollars for operations, but oftentimes that's rare. And so, and we also know that it's the programs and the services that's really, I like to say, the heartbeat of what we do. Because when we talked about governance, we talked about capacity, and all of that. But all of those things are in place and relevant because we are in communities providing services and offering programs to a variety of populations for a whole lot of different reasons. And so we spend time talking about how programs are designed, how we manage them, and how we might evaluate them. I'll go ahead and tell you, we'll spend most of our time on program evaluation today. That is an area where we find that many of our nonprofits have the least amount of resources to actually put into time, any type of dollars that might be needed to engage in program evaluation. And so what we're going to start off with is I want you to think of one of the programs that you are the most proud of and that is significantly impactful in your community. Just think of a program that's a part of the nonprofit that you represent. Just think about it. What does that program do? How does it make a difference? Who does that program serve? How long has that program been around? Those are all the things that would be related to said program. And so think about that. I'm gonna give you like 2 seconds to kind of think about what program is that going to be? What is going to be that program? So kind of think about that. And then what we want you to do is we want you to give us an illustration of that program. Just one program. So the utensils that you have your paper. Did anybody by chance, let me see what type paper you have. Do you have 8.5 by 11? Do you have 11 by 17? Do you have, okay. Does anybody have a colored sheet? Like, is it green, blue, purple, yellow, computer paper? Computer paper that works as long as it's paper, Lisa, it works as long as it's paper. I see is that an index card? It's purple. Is that cool? No, is it a Post-it? Looks like a Post-it. No, okay, all right, okay, all right. A planner page, I love it. I absolutely love it. Great, 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 great. So what I want you to do is I want you to give me a visual illustration of that program. How does it work? How does that program work? So if I were to come to experience that program, what would I see? Now, you're more than welcome to, if you're thinking that stick people are not going to work for you today, or the little trees that we used to do when we were in pre-K and kindergarten and all that, that's not going to work for you. Feel free to use words, but I do want you to give us that visual. What does that program look like? We're going to do something with this. We're going to utilize this image throughout the morning as we hone in on program design, management, and evaluation. So identify the program and then give us an illustration. Be patient with us. There's a method to the process. Or no, that's not what I want to say. What I want to say is trust the process. That's what I really want to say. But anyway, so we're going to give you a few minutes here to craft that illustration, and whatever tools you used, it'll be real colorful, or it'll be not so colorful, or it'll be, Chris, it'll be on a purple Post-it square, or it'll be on copy paper or what have you. So I'm just going to go silent for a few minutes and just let you work on that. So again, what we're asking is for you to share with us a program in your community or a program with your organization. If you represent an organization, it would be with your organization. If you're not necessarily representing an organization and you're with us today, then you would identify a program in your community. And we want you to show us what it looks like in just one program, because I know some of your organizations have multiple programs, but we're asking you to hone in on one for this exercise. If the program you decided to focus on has a name, put the name of that program in the chat. What's the name of the program? Let's see, what do we have? I see summer feeding, summer learning. Let's see what else is in there. Lisa, do you? Let me see.
Music is life. Someone should.
I saw
What's
NC Pre-K.
What's in your hands? Community discussion, read Charlotte, strengthening families,
Okay,
kaleidoscope, play and learn.
okay.
I'm glad I said that word right, kaleidoscope. Wayne County, North Carolina STEAM Initiative.
Awesome.
Someone has an
Awesome,
initial
awesome.
program called Pivot.
Okay. All
I'm
right.
surprised we didn't get that many questions about how to draw it. That's good.
Oh, that's because they know their programs really well. That's
Yeah.
why. All right, so we'll take about 2 more minutes. And again, think of all that happens with that program and try to put on that, on your sheet, on your paper, some indication of what that is. It might be in words, it might be a symbol, it might be some other way in which that program is branded or the way in which that program works. So just kind of give us an idea of what it is. So if you handed that to me, I would be able to know and understand what happens in that program. So I'm going to give you about 2 more minutes, and then we're going to go to part 2 of this exercise. Okay, again, our topic today is program design, management, and evaluation. And as I mentioned before, much of our funding that we receive in nonprofit organizations is as a result of the programs or the services that we deliver and that we provide in our local communities. And so what we're going to do today is, as I said, we're going to emphasize program evaluation, but we're going to also cover program design and management. Lisa, I see your hand, McMillan.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was trying to chat it, but I won't have enough time. Duke Energy just came here and they're about to kill my power. So I'm going to lose internet, but I'm going to try to connect to my phone. Okay. So,
Okay.
all right.
All
Sorry
right.
about that.
No worries. Thank you. All right. So can you hold up your sheet? I'm leaning into my camera so I can see. Lisa, I might need my readers, but
Yeah, me too.
okay, let's see. Let's see, can it get in focus? Sometimes it's easy to see, sometimes it's not. Okay. All right. I see you, Michelle Minich. I see
Oh,
you,
wow.
Jason
Did you see
King,
Taylor's? Look at Taylor.
Janet
Taylor, go
Burns.
back a little bit.
I
Go
see
back.
you,
Yeah.
Sarah Hass.
Look at Taylor's. Go
Okay, I'm
back a
trying to
little
get
bit,
there.
Taylor. It's trying to get in focus. Now okay, no, maybe come back toward the camera. I
Oh,
see a
my goodness.
house. It looks like a house.
Okay.
Yeah, that
All
looks pretty
right.
good.
Kamina, I see Tanya and
See
Mary.
colors.
All right. I see you. I see you.
Look
All
at
right.
Christian. Wow.
Okay. I see
Christian Taylor.
Christians too. Sarah, is that another son? Is that
Sarah got sons all over the
Sarah?
place.
I tell you,
I've learned my lesson. They've taught me well.
awesome. Okay. All right. Great.
Good.
Thank you all so much. Now, this is going to be, we're going to utilize this image. We're going to utilize your drawing for the rest of the content that we're going to be working on. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to place you in breakouts. And as you heard Rebecca check in a few minutes ago, we're going to put you in breakouts by your role, by the roles that you have. When you go into your breakout, we want you to share who you are, you know, of course, your title, your name of your organization, do a little bit of intro. And then what we want you to do is we want you to share with your group what makes this program impactful and great in your community. What makes this program impactful and great in your community? Now, some of you may have decided to use a program that you're developing, like you haven't launched it yet. Well, tell us what will make it impactful and great. What will make it impactful and great in your community? So we're doing two things. We are doing some intros in your breakout. And then we're also wanting you to begin to reflect on that program from the perspective of what is impactful and great about that program in your community. So we want you to talk about it, and feel free to add more to that image, because what happens sometimes is when you hear someone else talk about their program, they'll mention something that you also have, but you forgot to add it to your, to include it in your picture. So feel free to keep building your picture in the breakouts. Okay. All right, Rebecca, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I will see you all on the other side of your work.
All right, we're gonna open up the rooms and you'll get that notification when we're coming up on the 15 minutes. If any of you are in your group, remember that you can always come back to the main room if you have a question or something comes up in your group that you want to toss our way. So feel free, don't feel like you're locked in there. But we'll let y'all go on in there and we'll see you in about 15. And I'll pop the assignment in I'll broadcast that to the chat so you all have that in front of you.
Aggie's in the house. I was just talking to the team about the greatest homecoming on earth is this week in Greensboro at North Carolina
Uh-oh, you got one
A&T.
person
So,
putting some hands up, Jacqueline.
yeah. It's a week-long affair, and so it's
That
very
makes it hard.
very festive this week. Hopefully, you got to know each other a little bit better, in your breakouts. And so, give us an idea of what did you hear? So what's happening around the state as it, thank you, Kwamina. I see Aggie Pride in the chat. Sorry, y'all. We just had to take the opportunity to do that. What did you hear in your breakouts? What's impactful and great, as it relates to the programs that you offer?
Christian's late to the
I,
party here.
I
He
knew
says,
that
wait a
was going to
minute.
happen. I knew that was going to happen.
He said,
I
wait a
knew.
minute, wait a minute. Okay, focus, y'all, focus.
Not on my
I
watch.
know.
Not on
I
my
know.
watch.
Uh-oh, uh-oh.
Let's hear from one of your groups. Rebecca, how many groups did we have?
There wasn't anybody in the board group, so we had 7, I think. Yep.
All right, so let's hear from 2 or 3 of you, and then we're going to jump into some content. We're going to kick it off with program design, but tell us what's impactful and great about your programming. I know we're going to hear some great stories. So, anybody?
I can go. Ours was the fundraising group, and it was really interesting to hear about the range of populations being served by different organizations. Mary shared that she talked about a program that they had done in the past, which was an AmeriCorps-based program. Everyone did a great job with drawing, by the way. And we were able to see different creativity, flows of creativity. Focused on telehealth for seniors. Then there was a Pink Poverty program, which was focused on female hygiene, distribution of female hygiene products that I thought was really, much needed service. And we discussed, Sarah said, yeah, we're adding an educational component to it in future. And then there was, I think, Step Up Wilmington had ESL citizenship program, again, sort of serving people, students or adults in 30 different languages. So I thought it was like really, we covered a broad swath of North Carolinians.
Okay, all right. How about we hear from one more group? Thank you, Sanjay, for sharing that. How about one more group? What's impactful? What's great?
I think I'll take a stab at it for the program group. We just all kind of went over everything that we did and the pictures that we drew. For me, I drew a bug. I drew a spider for NC Pre-K, and all of the legs are what keeps us moving forward. So like our committees and our staff and our partners and our funder and state organization that kind of moves us forward. And then I'm gonna just go ahead and apologize to my group. I tried my best to write everyone's information down, but sometimes we were talking too fast. So Sarah
thank you.
with True Liant and their foundation, she was just talking, and she's the one with the sun. She was talking about just how their grant foundations serve nonprofits regarding like essentially what we're doing now. They get $1,500 to move their nonprofit forward with Sarah, you can jump in because I'm going blank here.
That's okay. Professional development.
Yes, professional
yes.
development.
Recognizing that for smaller nonprofits, so often professional development is at the bottom of the budgetary list. And so this
Yes.
year we offered in our community mini grant program, $1,500 grants to small nonprofits who needed professional development, investing in the people who do the work.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you
We
so
al-
much.
We also had someone that is working with a nonprofit called Stay at Home, and I didn't catch her name when she was discussing, but she just talked about how they provide accessibility modifications to homes. So like walk-in showers or ramps that people may need to make their homes more accessible. And then we also had someone that discussed their pivot ministry. We also had Taylor who talked about Triad Health and that project that supports those who have HIV in the community, and it just gives them opportunity to have a support group and provide hot meals. And then Jason also talked about with his nonprofit, they are able to give those who just received their master's a job, and during that time, they are able to receive the training, the on-the-job trainings that they need so that they can go out and help the projects across, I believe, North Carolina. And then their goal is to essentially ensure that those who are working with them don't come back to them, instead be hired at where they're working. And then one young lady, I cannot remember her name, but she just talked about, she has a program or a nonprofit in Apex that somewhat focus on Latino families, but they want to make sure that they strengthen their family and also strengthen the literacy in the families as well, and just try to add support. So I hope I did our group justice.
Thank
But
you.
we had a robust conversation, and just it's really cool that in the programs group we have so many things going on and helping so many different people. Thank you.
Absolutely. And the nonprofit sector is definitely a needed sector in the marketplace. You know, I'm preaching to the choir when I say, you know, we fill the gap for a lot of resources that are made available to people in our communities, and we should be proud of that. And so thank you for you both, Sanjay and Christian, for sharing what your group lifted up in your breakout rooms. I want you, so we're going to go to, so we've done part 1, we've done part 2, now we're going to go to part 3 of this exercise. Remember, this is going to run throughout the time of our session today. We are going to share with you in the chat. So for those of us who are sometimes kind of challenged with lifting something out of the chat, we're not going to leave you. We're going to make sure that you're able to access this, right, team? So you are going to get a handout of sorts that's going to be placed in the chat. And so I'm going to pause and make sure, team, that everybody has access to this. This is not in your workbook. This is not in your workbook. So you're going to need to lift it out of the chat. Rebecca or Leslie, I don't know who's doing that part, but I'm going to pass it over to you. And I just don't want to leave anybody behind. I want to make sure everybody gets it. Were you talking, Rebecca, and you were muted? Is that what it was? Oh, there it
No,
is.
I was
Oh,
about
okay.
to ask if Leslie, looks like Leslie popped it in the chat there.
Okay,
She's got it.
good. So go to the chat and you're going to click on that. You're going to download it. And then I find it best if I go ahead and save it. Just save it. And then that way you don't get lost in the work that we're doing, trying to continue to access it. So it doesn't go away. So want to make sure everybody's with me. I'm looking at the gallery. If you're having difficulty, let us know. Again, this is part 3 of our exercise. Everybody got it? Yes, I see thumbs up. Great. Now, what I would like for you to do, and team, we can show the checklist on the screen. That'll work too. Again, we don't want to leave anybody. We want to make sure everybody's together. So this is what you should have access to. And what we would like for you to do is we would like for you, as best you can, we're going to go over each of the components of that we are lifting up today. We're going to spend time on program design. We're going to spend time on program management, and we're going to do quite a bit of work on program evaluation. That's where the emphasis is going to be. When we think about program design, what we are looking at here is we want to design and implement programs that align with the nonprofit's mission and vision to meet community needs. So when we're designing a program, oftentimes it emerges out of there being a need and we want to do something about it. So we create a program or a service to do that. In terms of program management, here what we're focusing on is we want to manage programs that have sufficient funding and human resources to achieve the desired outcomes. So program design, program management. And then in terms of program evaluation, we want to provide credible evidence of the impact of a program through a detailed and robust assessment and evaluation process. And so when we're thinking about the programs that we have or the services, sometimes nonprofits will call what we're calling a program a service. We do that so that we can accomplish our mission and our vision. What I would like for you to do is look at the picture that you created or the imagery or the list. Some of you may have decided to just generate a list of all the things that happen in your program. And some of you got really, 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 really creative and you drew out an image for us. What we want you to do for just a couple of minutes is look at that picture and match what's in your picture with our numbers, right? So in your picture, is there anything that you have noted that is related to number 2, the target population that you are serving? If it is, just put a number 2 beside it. Is there anything in your picture, in the design of your program, that indicates the other similar programs or services in your community, which is number 6 in our list. So we want you to go through our list of 20, and we want you to identify and match up what is the same that's on our list and also in your picture. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to do that. We'll leave this on the screen here for a couple of minutes. Match up just kind of where we align. Is there anything in your picture that you identify as being a match for our list of 1 to 20? And we consider these to be the different components of program design, management, and evaluation. This is what we call our checklist. I think I'm understanding Sarah's question. You are matching as often as you're matching these items with what you have in your picture as often as it's shown. So I'm not sure if that answers your question or not. We're going to get to Sanji. We're going to get to all of these in just a minute. we're gonna work through each and every one of these items on your checklist. But so far, those things that you can interpret and that you understand. Okay. So again, you're looking at your picture or the information that you generated about impactful and great program that your organization offers, and you are matching in your picture or in your information, you're matching our list to what you have. Okay. All right, team, if we could go back to gallery. It is 10:27, so we are going to take a break. And we're going to pick right back up here where we left off. We have several more parts to this exercise, but we're going to work through each of these sections that's in the checklist. We're going to work through each of those areas, and but we're going to spend more time on program evaluation. So it is, I'll just say it's 10:30. Let's come back at 10:40. Break. We're going to move into, I think we're at part 4 of our work with the program design as it relates to program design management and evaluation. So right before the break, what I asked you to do is to look at your picture and to match as much as you could where you see these characteristics in your picture, in your image. And we're going to work through each of these areas of implementing programs and just kind of talk through how programs are framed, at least using this checklist. And so we're going to move right into program design. We're going to move right into program design. And so with program design, we have 9 items noted on our checklist. Now, keep in mind, you may add more, right? When you think about design as it relates to programs in your organization or services in your organization. But for the purpose of this exercise and this resource or this checklist, we have 9. And so when you look at this list, we want you to kind of share with us what is the most challenging versus what is crystal clear to you as it relates to program design. What is the most challenging when you look at this list? What is the most challenging to do? And then what is crystal clear? So we'll start with the most challenging first, and just pop it in the chat, the number. Rebecca, I'm going this route on this. So just pop it in the chat. What is the most challenging when you look at this list? And then we'll come back to what's crystal clear. What is the most challenging? Just put the number in the chat of what's the most challenging. I see number 9. Yes, it's definitely challenging to think about, you know, how to go about acquiring the funds and the money necessary to implement programs. Getting feedback from community partners. Lisa, I think I'm keeping up with
I'm following you.
with what's in there. I see
Mhm.
number 9. I see 7 and 8.
8, yeah. See 3.
Number 3, okay.
Still want you to address number 5, but I know we're not there yet.
Okay, all right.
See
I'll get
15, 19.
Okay, all right.
18, 7 and 9, 2, 10 and 11.
So it's all of them. It's 1 through It's 1 through 9. So let's just walk through these then. Let's just do that. So we'll start at the top. So typically when we decide that we are going to launch a program, typically there is some type of need or issue, there's some focus. And oftentimes, we hope it aligns with what the mission is of that nonprofit. Now, sometimes we get caught up and we will want to create a program that misaligns. I mean, not that it's a negative thing, but we want to try to make sure our programs stay in the context of the mission and vision of our organization. And so I was just talking to Sarah about her organization and, providing food, let's just say. So in terms of hunger and food and so on and so forth. And so, there are programs that go along with that. And so that's the focus there. When we talk about the target population, what we're talking about here is we are looking at the population that we serve. When Sanjay shared her group's feedback from the breakout session, she talked about the populations they serve. That was something that came up in their breakout. And so most programs provide a service or a resource to a specific population or for a specific purpose. And so typically we keep up with the demographics of that. There's also something you can add here. We also pay attention to the psychographics of the populations that we serve. So, and when we talk about psychographics, what we mean there is what are the behaviors or the preferences or the values of that population that we serve. And so we learn a little bit more about a population by capturing a profile or developing a profile of that population. So if it's an after school program for 3rd graders, we would be looking at what kinds of challenges are these 3rd graders experiencing such that they need recreation or tutoring or whatever the case may be. We would capture the psychographics of that population, be it 3rd graders and possibly even their family or their parents. And so that's what we mean when we talk about a target population. That's how we would describe the population. Geographic location, the service area. Do you service the city, the county, a neighborhood? What is the service area of the program? Needs assessment and asset mapping. In your workbook, go to page 68 for me. 68 is needs assessment. And then go to page, you can put your hand there, and then we're going to go over to page 83, I believe, 82. So this is in the strategic planning section of your workbook. But what we mean by a needs assessment is that we are paying attention to and doing our research on the significance or the degree of the need. Because remember, our program is established to meet a need or to address an issue, etc. And so when we talk about needs assessment, we can look at secondary information that informs us about need, or we might go out and do our own research. Once we have that profile, we might go out and do our own research about that population and what it needs. And so that's what we mean by needs assessment. In the Institute, we do not train on how to do a needs assessment. But that is a activity that most of you are doing even when you don't think about it. Because when you're implementing a program, you're constantly moving up and down this checklist. As you are implementing your program, you're making adjustments, you're adding resources, you're doing all the things. So we don't train on how to do a needs assessment, but it is relevant in the design of your programs. Asset mapping, if you go over to page 82, Here, what we do is we look across the service area or the community, and we inquire about, we're doing research again, what are the assets? What assets do we have in our community? For example, I use the after-school program as an example. What assets do we have that exist in our community that can support our programs and our services? And so that's what we're looking for there. We don't train on how to do asset mapping in this institute, but that is a activity or task that you might take on in your organization. Program landscape in the community. What other programs exist in your community that are similar programs and similar services? And if there are similar programs and services, how does your program fit into addressing the need, right? And so that's something that you want to think about, especially when you are grant writing or you're trying to secure resources and there are other programs that are similar. It's a good opportunity to partner. It's a good opportunity to collaborate, and so on and so forth. So I would encourage us not to take the position of a competitor, because the need is great. Typically, the need is so great that all of our resources and programs are useful and needed. But it is a good idea to collaborate and partner. So that's the program landscape. Feedback from program participants. If it is an existing program, then obviously you can get some feedback from them as to how the program is working. Does it meet their need, accessibility, availability, and the like. If it's a new program, you may have to inquire with that population to learn more about the extent of the need, the degree of the need, and their input on what would help them. That's a good way to look at that. And then finally, the funding. So in the design, we encourage us to go ahead and think about funding, whether it be fundraising or whether it be earned revenue or earned income, or maybe it's grants we're going to pursue, or maybe there's even a fee for service. If you think about our YMCAs, for example, you know, YMCAs have a gazillion programs, right? Fitness, wellness, youth programs, and so on and so forth. And so if you think about a YMCA and you think about all of the different types of programs, some programs, there's a fee for service. Some programs, they get grant dollars. Some programs, they fundraise. And so that's what we're talking about here. In the design of the program, let's go ahead and think about funding the program long term. Questions about 1 through 9? Rebecca, do we want to use the poll here real quick? That might be a real quick way for people to let us know what's clear and what's not as clear. Again, design, program design. We did the most challenging. Is there anything else that continues to be challenging for you? And I'll go ahead and tell you, needs assessment and asset mapping sometimes is new for our participants. And so a lot of times that definitely kind of shows up as being the most challenging.
And Marcella put a resource in the chat for the group.
Perfect.
So thank you for that.
All right.
We've got about 60%
got?
have participated. I'll give it a couple more seconds.
Okay.
And then I'll share the results and the poll. And
Awesome. 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 I think I probably should have gone to what's clear. That might have been a way to do it, since I just went over the list.
That's okay.
I have a question about the number 9. Are there any sort of guidelines available for fund development strategies, in particular earned income or fee for service?
So, yes, well, I won't say guidelines, but we have some ideas.
Okay,
We
sure.
can stay after if you'd like, and we could answer your specific question about that.
All right,
But yeah, we have some thoughts about that.
okay, thank you.
We also are going to, we're going to do fundraising is one of your topics for the Institute too. So, yep.
Here's the poll results.
Okay.
Of course, the funding development strategies is always the
Yes.
trickiest, right? There's a lot of
Mhm.
competition for these types of funds.
Yeah. Okay.
And then after
And
that is getting that feedback from program participants at 26%.
okay.
Yep.
One of the things I would say, especially if it's a new program, as it relates to getting feedback from, that's where kind of some grassroots kind of action research comes in. You know, if you're designing a program for third graders, right? And let's say it's a tutorial program, then we would have to actually interface and interact with and maybe talk to third grade teachers or parents of third graders, or, you know, to learn a little bit more about what it is that they need and what types of, how should the program be designed so that it's useful to them. That's what we mean there. So I just wanted to add a little bit there. Okay. What about what's crystal clear? What is very, very clear? What is clear? Now that we've gone through our list, what is clear to you? What is clear? And Rebecca is going to put the poll up again, just so we can kind of see where people are.
Okay, I'm going to relaunch the poll.
All right, so this time we're
yeah.
looking for what is very, very clear about program design for you.
Yep. Even though it still
What's
says
clear?
challenging, answer on what is
Yeah,
clear,
it's
what is
clear.
most
Yep.
clear.
That's correct. Yep.
About 30 to 40 seconds here. Folks are responding. I'm seeing everybody joining poll. This is what's most clear to you.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm gonna end the poll and share results. And by far, target population is our most clear of the program
Okay.
design elements, followed by the problem or social and human services.
Okay. Can you move, or can I do it on my end, that little arrow, so I can, there we go. I was looking for fund development. I had to move the
Yeah, you
side
have to
there.
scroll down.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. We are going to go on to, I think we're at part 6. So we're growing these steps here. We're at part 6 of our work. So we're going to move into program management. So that's where we're going. Program management. All right. So in looking at our list here, we want to do the same. And team, we can put up the checklist. Let's put up the checklist on the screen. So we're going to take a look at, again, we're looking at program management, and we're trying to gauge here what is the most challenging for us. What is the most challenging? And I'm going to break it up, Rebecca. I'm going to do most challenging at the top, and then I'm going to do what's clear at the end. So we'll do it that way. All right. And so we're looking at program management, And when we think about managing our programs, here we're trying to focus on sufficient resources, both funding and human resources, so we can do all the things that we that is necessary in order for this program in order for us to implement the program. And so we have 6 characteristics of program management listed here. What is the most challenging? And just put it in the chat. What is the most challenging for us as a group? What is the most challenging? Let's see, challenging, number
15
15.
wins the cake.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
I think there's no problem there.
Oh, I see 13 and 15, Lisa.
12 and 15, 12.
I don't see 12, I see 12.
No,
And I think it's important for us to keep program, the program design, management, and evaluation function of a nonprofit. Let's make sure we parlay this over into fundraising. When we're talking about fundraising and financial management, let's all be reminded to reflect back on the fact that we noted here that it's the fund development strategies that are is probably the most challenging for us. And so we'll infuse that into the fundraising financial management part. I'm looking at 10 through 15. I see the evaluation ones, but I'm going to focus on management for now, and then we'll come back to 16 through 20. So let's see, most of what I see here, again, if we know that 15 is going to come, we're going to do a little bit more with that later. Volunteers. Okay. All right. So let's walk through these. Let's kind of walk through these one by one. And so in thinking about community impact, so for each of our programs that we have within our nonprofit organizations, we should be intentional about what type of outcomes are we wanting to experience as a result of implementing the program. Sarah mentioned, Sarah with the True Lion Foundation, she mentioned that they are funding smaller nonprofits. They're providing a $1,500 grant in order for those nonprofits to get professional development. So let's say we're couching that as a program, right? So then what ultimately is the impact that True Lion Foundation, the funder, what is the impact that they're trying to accomplish? That's one way of looking at it. But then for the nonprofit, what type of outcomes or impact is that nonprofit trying to achieve as a result of being a part of that program? So that's what we mean when we talk about community impact. So it's good for us to think about that. And then staff and volunteers. What I will say about volunteerism in nonprofit organizations, if we really want it to stick and stay, it's important to have a formal recruitment kind of and retention apparatus in place, if that in fact is what we want. I know that sometimes as board members, we will encourage our nonprofit to, get interns or, get volunteers to help do certain types of work that we have. It's easier said than done. Supervising volunteers is a little bit different than supervising staff. And so it is important to identify to what degree we have the capacity to bring on volunteers in particular. Staff, of course, we're compensating them for both. We're trying to obtain their knowledge, skills, and experience. We're trying to bring that into our organization to help us with our programs. I think promote, advertise, and market the program, that kind of speaks for itself. We have traditional ways that we do that. Flyers, newspapers, of course, word of mouth. When we partner and collaborate, that's another way of lifting up our programs. And then strategic communication is one of the North Carolina Center's principles, our primary management functions. And so you can find that on page 18 in the Principles and Practices Guide. And then also fundraising is in our Principles and Practices Guide as well. It's on page 11. But what I would say there is that social media, yes, is a convenient, low-cost way of getting the word out about your programs. And so I encourage us to maintain our social media platforms, make sure they're current, and make sure that, you know, we are updating our website and information. Special events, that kind of speaks for itself, is a way for us to implement and manage our programs. And then, of course, funding is another part of that work. Something you can add here is like the program schedule. So when is the program offered? You know, what days of the week, what time, is it seasonal, you know, et cetera, is another part of the management, is what is the implementation schedule? That's important. With special events, involve your board. Involve your board of directors. They can help with special events if you train us. You know, just kind of coaches tell us what we need to do, and we can help raise the awareness and get the word out about programs. The other thing I'm going to say, add to number 9 and number 15 is a budget. A budget for the nonprofit and a budget for the program. So understand the budget for the nonprofit and understand the budget for a specific program. And so that's important to keep in mind. Team, if we could go back to gallery, that would be great. And so I think, again, we saw it's funding, it was promotion, I think we actually had all of these, and then it was social media in terms of what appeared to be challenging. And again, I gave you a few additional nuggets to add for this whole part of program implementation, is the actual management of the program. Partnerships and collaboration, we mentioned that in design, but it also plays out in program management as well. So again, you may add to this list or you may take away from this list. It just depends on your program, your nonprofit, et cetera. So again, program design, program management is important. You'll hear me say this again, but for every program that we have, it's a good idea to have this information already written up. Have it written up. So if you have 10 programs, have a write-up of all the components of design and management. Just, and then that way, when it's time to write a grant or it's time to advertise, or it's maybe you're getting the opportunity to talk to the media, you can actually go and pull this information and it's at your fingertips. I think that's important to point out here. Rebecca is going to put up the poll again. She's going to put up the poll again. And here we're looking at what is clear. So we're going to replace challenging. What is the most clear to you, as we've kind of, you've heard me rather, talk through 10 through 15. What is clear to you? What is very, very clear as to program management?
Give it a few more seconds. See if folks are participating. what's most clear regarding program management. Let's go ahead and end the poll here and share results. And community impact
Okay.
by far,
Okay.
70% is most clear for folks.
Okay.
And that makes sense.
Yes, 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 it does. What we're gonna do, and Rebecca, we're gonna go into breakouts by role. I think let's stay with that. So we'll use the same breakout groups that we used before, if possible, in terms of the 7 groups that you created. And so here's what we want you to share. We want you to share, how do you fund your programs? So how do you fund your programs? And if you remember on our checklist for under management, we have fund development strategies. We have fundraising, we have earned income, we have grants, we have fee for service, we have earned revenue. Those are the ways in which we have labeled fundraising strategies in your checklist. So when you go into your breakout group, we want you to share, how are you funding the program that you provided the illustration of? So this should be kind of a continuation of that discussion that you were having in your breakout group. You initially shared the program, what makes it great, what makes it impactful. Now you're going to share how you fund it. How do you fund your program, or how do you resource that program? We look forward to hearing what you share with one another on the other side of the breakout. And the breakout this time will be, Rebecca, I know we had 10 minutes, but let's do 15 because we had like 7 or 8 in each group, I think. So I
Yeah.
think that time is probably needed.
Okay. Great, I'll open up all the rooms, and if folks need help getting into the right rooms, I'll be here to assist.
How do you, where does the money come from? How do you go about acquiring funds for this program? Hopefully, you were able to hear some ideas as to how your colleagues are bringing resources to their programs. I know I need to repeat that because folks are just getting back. I jumped the gun. It's football season, so that would have been what, offsides? Is that what that would have been? I don't know. I'm trying here. I'm trying. Anyway, welcome back from your breakouts. Hopefully you were able to hear from your colleagues as to how they are funding and resourcing their programs. As I mentioned before, we have a session coming up. It's a 2-part session. It is fundraising and financial management. We couple those 2 management functions together. And so we will be providing training on fundraising specifically. But I did want you to have the opportunity to hear from your colleagues as to how they're going about resourcing their programs or funding their programs. And hopefully you were able to garner some ideas from them. And we'll do a deep dive in the fundraising in the coming weeks. The one thing I will say is that I wish there was like a magic recipe that I could give everybody that would yield all the money and all the resources that you need for your programs, but I haven't discovered it yet. I haven't found it. I haven't found the magic recipe that just makes that happen automatically. And so, but again, we'll get into some of those specifics. So we have covered program design and we have covered program management. The next part of our work is program evaluation. And I want to point out in your workbook, so get your workbook, grab your workbook, whether it's electronic or whether it is in your hands. I think you'll work better with the workbook in your hands for the next part of our work. And so I'm going to give you a minute to grab that. Let's see. So we have worked through several parts of this. We did part 6. We're going into part 7. We are going into, actually, we're further along than that. We're about at part 10 with all of this. So program evaluation is where we're going. Grab your workbook. You should be on page 44. That's where it starts. And the content related to program evaluation runs from page 44 to page 55. So page 44 to page 55. What we have found over the years is that for many of our nonprofits, it is the program evaluation part of this topic that either we don't have as much time as we would like to do program evaluation, or we don't have the resources that we need in order to do program evaluation. If you look at your checklist, and team, if you would just populate the checklist on the screen. When you look at your checklist for program evaluation, we have 5 really 4 pieces to this puzzle. The process in and of itself of program evaluation involves preparing to evaluate, focusing the evaluation, conducting the evaluation, and reporting the results. Now, keep in mind, we're focusing on the one program that you used for today. So the program that you created the image of, the program that you matched up the checklist items 1 through 20, the program that you shared how you funded, et cetera, et cetera. That's the program that we're going to utilize to practice evaluation. So we're going to stick with that. And again, we're talking about preparing for the evaluation, focusing the evaluation, conducting the evaluation, and then reporting the results with a focus on one single program. In your workbook, I want to show you what's in your workbook. What's in your workbook aligns with 16 through 20. It aligns with 16 through 20. And so in your workbook on page 44, you have just a fact sheet there about what program evaluation is. When you go to page 45, it mimics what you see in the checklist: prepare, focus, conduct, report. Prepare, focus, conduct, report. It aligns with what you see 16 through 20 in the checklist. When you get to page 46, there are some prompts here that we give when you're thinking about preparing for the evaluation. Again, I'm showing you what's in the workbook first. When you get to page 47, there is a worksheet. We are going to complete this worksheet for the program that you are utilizing for today's session. So we're going to come back to that, but there's a worksheet where we map out how we plan for an evaluation for a program. Keep going with me. Then on page 48, there is a sheet that is a part of focusing the evaluation. Why are we doing the evaluation? Who's involved? And what are we evaluating? So there's that page, that's page 48. Page 49, we have a sheet there that gives you an idea of types of an evaluation. Types of an evaluation. We have questions to accompany, helping us to understand what type of an evaluation do we want to do for this particular program. page 51, in terms of the analysis of the information that we've collected when we've conducted the evaluation. So how do we analyze that information when we get it back, the data that we have? Then we have some methods on how to collect the data. Again, I'm just showing us what's in the workbook first. How to collect the data, how to interpret the data, page 53. And then how do we report? So again, when you look at if you look at the checklist, items 16 through 20, for each part of the process, we have accompanying information to guide us on how to evaluate a program, how to prepare, how to focus it, how to conduct it, how to report out. And again, we're focusing on one singular program. If we could go back to gallery. So that was a mouthful, right? And we all deserve a break. So we're going to take a 5-minute Zoom break. You know, Zoom break, you know, you get a 1-minute Zoom break is like an hour. So a 5-minute Zoom break is like 5 hours. So at any rate, we'll come back in 5. It is 11:35. We're going to come back at 11:40. All right, let's get started. So we're going to do some hands-on work with the materials that I walk through to kind of tell you what's in your workbook. And we're going to use that information to create a guide for evaluating the program that you drew the illustration of, and that program that you've been working with throughout our time together today. So I want you to go to page 47 and go ahead and grab a pen or a pencil, because I'm going to share with us what pages we're going to use to help us to fill in this table. Okay. Everybody ready? Don't want to leave anybody behind. Want everybody to be moving in the same direction. Okay. Want everybody to be moving in the same direction. And Matt, we saw your question in the chat. If you don't mind, if you have a minute or two when we're finished, we want to respond to your question. And somebody else chimed in and agreed. It was something about a template, but we're not real clear on what that was. So we want to respond to your question. All right, everybody with me? 47, head nod, yes. Emoji, yes. Thumbs up. Okay, all right, great. On page 47, so we are going to focus the evaluation, right? And to bring focus to the evaluation, we're going to utilize all of the information that I walked us through that's in your workbook. And so I'm going to tell you what pages align with each of these questions that we're asking on page 47, okay? So here we go. So program B, it's going to be program B because it's your program, whatever the name of it is going to be in that under program A. So that's that. So you're going to put the name of your program there. Column Y, why are we conducting this evaluation? We're going to reference page 48, 49, and 50. Remember, we just walked through the evaluation information in your workbook. So I'm matching that information with the response that we're looking, or type of response we're looking for in each of those columns. So Y is page 48, 49, and 50. What is page 48, 49, and 50? Who is page 48? When is page 54 and 55? And I'm gonna walk us through all of this, and how is page 52. Okay, so we've got your program, whatever program that is you've been working with through this exercise this morning. And then we want to know, why are we conducting this evaluation? What exactly are we evaluating? Who will use the information provided by the evaluation? When will the evaluation be complete? And then how will we conduct the evaluation in terms of the methodology? So let's go back to the first column. Why? Why are we conducting the evaluation? Let's go to page 48. Let's go to page 48. All right. Page 48 really helps us with why, what, and who, right? So you've identified what program you're utilizing for this exercise. What are the reasons that you would be conducting this evaluation for that program? What are the reasons that you would be conducting the evaluation for that program? Is it that you're trying to help others understand the program and its results? Are you trying to improve the program? Are you trying to measure whether the program has made a difference? Are you trying to determine if the program is worth the cost? Or are you trying to answer questions that your funders have asked in terms of that? So what would be the focus of this evaluation? I know what you're all thinking. You're thinking it's all of these. That's what you're thinking. Let's pick one for the purpose of the exercise. Let's pick one to focus on for the purpose of the exercise. So I'm going to go quiet here for just a minute and let you kind of decide, why are we doing this evaluation? Why are we doing this evaluation? Why are we doing this evaluation? And you've got some options there in terms of why. And then what are we evaluating? So again, you're recording, we're using this information that we have. We're also referencing page 49. And so let me talk a little bit about the types of evaluation as you're thinking about why we're doing the evaluation and what we are evaluating. When we think about evaluating a program, oftentimes there's a focus. So is it a goals-based evaluation? Is it a process evaluation? Or is it an outcomes-based evaluation? So what is the focus? Now, we have to streamline what we're doing because we would be at this forever if we try to do all of it. So we're trying to identify, what the primary focus is going to be. If we're looking at goals, we're trying to determine the extent to which the programs are meeting its goals and objectives. So if it's a goals-based evaluation, we're looking to see, here are the goals of the program, here are the objectives, are we meeting those? If it's process, it's related more to us understanding how the program works. And is the process or the logistics of the program, is it producing the results that we want and that we need? And so we're looking at literally what method or what approach are we using to deliver this program, and is that working? Is it producing the results that we want? I always think about Alcoholics Anonymous, 12-step program. 12-step is a framework. It's an approach. It's a process that was created and has been proven to work as it relates to serving the population that it was designed to support. And so we would be asking the question, is it producing the results that we desire? And if so, how is that happening? So again, a goals-based evaluation versus a process-based evaluation. Thirdly, an outcomes-based evaluation. So here what we're trying to determine is whether or not we are the activities and the resources that we've put into this program, is it yielding us the outcomes that we desire? So it helps us to decide if we're incorporating the right program activities to bring about the results that we believe to be needed for the people that we're serving. So it's a direct focus on, the people that we're serving, and are the outcomes showing up that we desire for that population of people. Marcella.
Thank you. I'm wondering if there is not a recipe, but some sort of direction as to how often each of those different types of evaluations should be conducted in a program. That's all I'll say. Thank you.
What I will say is that there's no singular streamlined answer that I can give to you in this space. The way you want to think about that is, who are you serving and what is it that you're trying to evaluate? Because if I'm trying to evaluate whether or not we created 5 manuals for our program, that's very different than did the training enhance the skills of the people that we were trying to help. So it's further in the weeds, and it's more customized to what it is that you're trying to accomplish in that program, and also how often you do it. If you're trying to measure behavior change or performance change, well, you can't do that in a week. You won't be able to determine that in maybe a month. So it gets a little bit more specific to subsector, and then what it is that you are actually trying to evaluate as it relates to behavior change, performance change, etc. That's as much as I can say in this space without getting more into customizing what it is your question is really about, because you have something specific that you're asking about in particular. So, but yes. So what are we evaluating? What type of evaluation is it? That helps us to answer that question on page 49 and 50. Next part that we're going to look at is who will use the information provided by the evaluation. Go back to page 48. Who will use the information? You see that third column? Is it board members? Is it community leaders? Is it collaborators? Is it your grantors? Is it staff? Who's actually going to use the information that we are able to acquire as a result of the evaluation? Because that helps us also to know how to unpack it, like how to share it, depending upon who we're talking to. We might speak about the evaluation differently with our program staff than maybe with our board members. So who is going to use the information provided by the evaluation? And that's important to consider at the onset. So in the design and all of that, it's important to start thinking about that. That's why we have these, the checklists arranged the way that we do. So who will use the information? Again, you're filling it in. You're filling in the table related to the program that you illustrated. The next thing I want us to go to is the data collection. The collection of the data. So I'm moving past when, and I'm going to how. How will we conduct the evaluation? Meaning, what methods will we use to gather information about this program? What methods will we use? So if you're looking at your column with who, so who will the information be used for, should inform us on the methods that we use, the method that we use to gather that information. Page 51 and page 52 is where I am right now. So the purpose of the information that we might be gathering as it relates to the data, as it relates to the evaluation. On page 51, we framed it qualitative and quantitative, right? So we might get qualitative information and we might also acquire quantitative information. And then we have specific tools that we use or methods that we use related to whether it's qualitative or quantitative. So look at qualitative. If we're trying to gather information about our program and we have decided that it's going to be goals-based, process-based, outcome-based, we've determined what kind of evaluation we're going to do. And then that gives us a inventory of questions that we would be posing. Those questions would be a part of the interviews or observation or focus group or case study if we're using that methodology, those methodologies. And the same with the quantitative. The questionnaires, the surveys, a checklist, a review of documents, that's a way that we can capture quantitative information. Now, I want you to just pause for a minute and just keep in mind, this is a big elephant, right? So we're just gonna chip away at it a little bit at a time. The takeaway here is, how do you frame an evaluation for your program? And so we're answering questions related to what it is, who we're trying to report out to, and what we're trying to evaluate. So I want to pause there for just a moment. Are we all together? If not, I'm pausing. I see Mary just took that big drink. I'm like, yeah, that. No, I'm just teasing you. I'm just teasing you. It's like, whoa, yeah, yeah, that was quite a bit that we consumed, right? We're talking about program evaluation here. I'm gonna move over on my next frame on my screen. I'm just looking to see, I want to make sure that we're all together. We don't leave anybody behind. We don't leave anybody behind. Are we good? We should all be on page 47. We should all be crafting how we would go about completing each of the columns here with the information provided. That's where we are. So I want to check in. Sanji, I see your hand.
Yeah, just a clarifying question. So when we're talking about evaluation, is the baseline also included in that before the program begins?
That is
all? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So you can, a very good question. You can incorporate how you want to shift. So if you're considering your baseline, yes, you can incorporate that into the specifics about what it is that you're trying to accomplish, and then how do you query to inform you as to how well you did or how well you're doing with that program. Yes, baseline is relevant. I'm pausing before we move on. Are we all together? We don't leave anybody behind. Want to make sure we're all together. You've put in the program, and now you're utilizing the resources in your workbook to help you chart the focus of the evaluation. 'Cause we don't want to just give you material and we not show us all how to actually use that information. Are we good? All right. Marcella's shaking her head, yes. Michelle's shaking her head, yes. Awesome. And Miranda, I can see some movement. I can see some movement there. All right, okay. So here's one of my favorite handouts in this packet, this set of information is on page 52. I think this is the neatest handout because oftentimes we're challenged with, well, how do we collect data and information? Like, what do we use to do that? And so what we've provided here is the different methods. Again, we're over under the how column in your worksheet. The different methods and the purpose for those methods. You know, because sometimes we just survey. My goodness, we do so many surveys, right? And then we have to get that data back and then we have to interpret it, right? But there are other methods that we can use. Like, for example, there may be, when we say documentation review, it's the third bullet on page 52. You may already be collecting information and data just in the way in which the program is implemented. So you don't have to do anything extra to get the data. You already have it. It's a matter of reviewing that data and drawing some conclusions from it. So you may not have to start from scratch, so to speak, with gathering the data. You may already have it. For example, if you do any type of intake or enrollment form, right? You are collecting data from your program participants. That information could very well inform aspects of your evaluation. So just kind of think about the data and the information that you already collect in that regard. So documentation review, that means that maybe your participants fill out an application. You know, maybe there's a committee that works alongside this program area. And there's work that they do and they have minutes and notes from their meetings. Maybe there's information that comes out there. Many of us are doing meetings by Zoom, or we're doing meetings virtually. You can get those summaries of those meetings and it may inform your evaluation because you're collecting information from key stakeholders or partners or collaborators in your program. So some of the information that could inform your evaluation framework, you could already be gathering that information just as a part of the program implementation. So keep that in mind. Observation of the program, that's another method that could be used in terms of observing what's happening in the program as it relates to potentially the program that you're using for this exercise. So again, the data collection methods, there's a purpose for those methodologies. And so be thinking about what would work for your program under the how column. Once we have the data, now we have to interpret the data, which takes us back to the type of evaluation we decided we were going to conduct. You go to page 53. Data interpretation of the data. And I would include that under how. I didn't give you that page number, but include page 53 under how, I gave you page 52 only, but I should have given you page 52 and page 53. So now we have to interpret the data when we get it back. Did we do a goals-based evaluation? Did we do a process-based evaluation? Did we do an outcomes-based evaluation? We're talking about impact when we talk about outcomes, right? And so when we interpret the data, in terms of goal-based, what did we, what happened in the implementation of this program? Was it expected, right? Was it what you expected in the results? Is it what we promised? Is it, did we accomplish the goals, of this program? And so goals-based. In terms of interpreting the data for a process-based evaluation, what did we do well? Did the process, did it yield us, let's just say, the outcomes that we desired? You know, we might have some testimonials in here, but we're trying to describe to our audience, we're trying to describe the strengths, the weaknesses, the lessons learned. Is there anything about this process we would change, etc.? So does our process work? Did it work? Did it yield us what we hoped? In other words, and then did we accomplish our outcomes if it's outcomes based? Did we accomplish our outcomes? Did we make the impact that we wanted? And then once we kind of have those nuggets, we have to do a write-up. Ultimately, we do a report out of all that we were able to understand about this program by way of the evaluation. Are we all together? We just layered it on today, didn't we? We just kept adding and adding and adding and adding and adding. Yes. This is the process for focusing the evaluation, and we use the worksheet to help guide you through that process. Michelle, I see your hand.
Yeah, I would love to hear what other people are using as far as tools to, process all the data. Like, are they putting it into spreadsheets?
Mhm.
Are we using like more advanced
Mhm.
things like Power BI? Or I'm just
Mhm.
curious.
So I'll give I'll let folks react to that in the chat. So she's asking for, so what tools are you using to help you to conduct your evaluations? Now, some funders offer you tools, like some funders have database systems, you input data, you can generate reports. Some funders do that, especially government funding or grant opportunities. What I see a lot of is real practical. Folks that have experience in Microsoft Excel, they create workbooks, they collect data, they know how to input that data and information and generate reports as a result. Doesn't cost anything extra, because if you have Microsoft, you have that platform that you can use. What I will say, though, is that many of our nonprofits are limited because we don't always have folks on our staff that are savvy in data analysis and conducting evaluations in general, which is why we incorporated in this experience just a real practical way to think about how to evaluate said programs. The other thing I will say, and then team will look in the chat and see what people put in there. The other thing I will say is most of our programs and services are from But I'll let others chime in as to what tools you actually use. Michelle, thank you for that question.
Yeah, and I would say that even if you do have the savviness on staff, your bandwidth is just sometimes not there to deal with it.
It is, and which is why the way we designed this was to try to streamline it a little bit in your thought process of how to conduct an evaluation. So yes, we say you could have a goals, a process, or an outcomes-based evaluation, right? Most of you are probably thinking, well, it's all three of those. But you may not have the bandwidth to engage in having an evaluation of all three. So you kind of have to think about, well, what do we have the capacity to be able to do? But if we received a grant or we received funding and we promised that we were going to do said evaluation, then we got to really think about going in. We got to really think about whether or not we have the capacity to do it. Team Lisa, I see you unmuted yourself, so you must see something in the chat. Do you see
Someone
something?
said, well, Danielle said Power B, is that a B1 is great if you know how to use it. I'm still learning.
Power
Mhm.
BI.
Power BI, okay. I haven't
Okay.
heard of that one.
Mhm.
That's the only comment so far.
Okay, all right. And again, you know, it depends on your staff skill set and experience. I always say, make your promises around evaluation based on your capacity. You don't think that that minimizes your impression towards your funder. Funders would rather you be more honest about what it is that you can do to help them to understand whether or not you've accomplished what they paid your organization to do. So, you know, I would encourage us to be real open and honest about that with your funders. But most funders have an apparatus of some sort. Most funders have a way in which they want you to report back to them. So that's important. Anybody else? Once we have collected the data and the information as it relates to the evaluation that we conducted, then there is the opportunity to report out. We can report out in writing or we can report out by presentation. Okay? We can report out in writing or we can report out by presentation. So on page 54 and 55, on 54 and 55, and this aligns with with the column titled Win, the Win column. This aligns with that column, page 54 and 55. We can report out in writing, which is a formal report, and or we can report out in person. So we can do forums, we can do meetings, we can determine how we want to engage in a report out. And then in that context, we're deciding who gets the report, who gets the written report, who gets the presentation version of the report out. Again, what we try to do here is give you a practical way of thinking about, and a doable way of thinking about evaluation and how to craft it. Don't overpromise and underdeliver. That's important. Don't overpromise and then underdeliver. Work within your capacity as it relates to evaluating your programs. Quick question. Take a minute, take a breath. Think about what we've covered today. Looking at the checklist, thinking about our topic, what has been the most useful to you? And take a minute to think about that. What has been the most useful in what we have experienced today, what has been the most useful to you? The most useful to you. And you can put that in the chat. What's been the most useful? The most useful. Worksheet, okay. I'm seeing some comments there.
Checklist.
Thank you, Lisa. What has been the most
We utilize
useful?
a student intern to help execute the evaluation to extend
Mhm.
bandwidth. Yep, that's always helpful.
That is helpful. And I do know nonprofits, especially if you're in a community and, well, even if you have a community college, you know, if you're in a community and you have access to, especially social work, human services, education, you know, those students are going to be expected to understand data and social stats, and you know, sociologists even might be helpful in that regard.
The majority checklist comments.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Okay. Program evaluation. Thank you for sharing that in the chat. Rebecca's going to pull up the poll for us, just like we did with program design and program management. What's clear to you as it relates to program evaluation? So you're going to see challenging come up, but just replace that with clear. What's clear to you as it relates to our topics today? What's clear?
This one is saying challenging, the first one. So
It should be what's clear. Yeah, it should be what's clear. Sorry, but it should say what's clear, not
Yeah.
challenging, what's clear.
Unfortunately,
we're trying-
I can't update polls once we start the
Yeah,
session. So
sorry.
that's
I'm sorry. I
Just
switched it.
respond. What is most clear to you regarding
Yeah,
program
what's most clear.
evaluation?
Yep.
And I'll give
Sorry, I have a habit of doing that sometimes.
It's good. You keep us all on our toes, Dr. Palmer. We need that
Hey,
during the
well,
long
you know.
session. I appreciate it. All right, I'll go ahead and end the poll and share the results.
Let's see what's clear. All right. That helps me work my way backwards. Okay. All right. I would encourage us to sit with this literature, sit with this information, think about how it can be useful in the way in which your nonprofit gives feedback on the success of your programs. And again, I can't emphasize it enough. Chart the way in which you frame how you evaluate your programs based on your capacity and based on your bandwidth. Don't overpromise and underdeliver on that part. And so talk to your funders. Help them to understand how you go about determining the impact and outcomes of your programs. That's very important. Very important. Again, take a breath. So let's just kind of sit for a minute. We know that we pile it on. We already know that. And there's more to come in the next 3 weeks. So again, program design, management, and evaluation. That is and was our topic for today. Whew, let's just I do want to tee up next week. So if we could kind of close out in our minds, program design, management, and evaluation. I want to kind of tee up our next management function, which is strategic planning. So everybody good? Mary, where's that cup? I think I need to, I want to drink. I want to drink some. Oh, is that NC State? Gotcha. Okay. All right. Oh, is it? Oh, okay. I see your name. Gotcha. So just a little bit of shifting, next week, our topic is going to be strategic planning. Okay. That particular work session is somewhat similar to the cadence that you experienced today. There are quite a few pieces to the puzzle when we begin to think about strategic planning and we decide that that's something that we want to do as a nonprofit organization. And so I kind of want to just tee this up so that we all show up next week with at least some imagery of what that is, like what that experience is gonna feel like and look like next week. We're gonna do some hands-on work like we did today. There's gonna be some explaining the different pieces of the strategic planning process and what that involves. And so I'm gonna have the team put up a slide that shows you all of the pieces. And promise me you'll be back next week when you see all these pieces. When you see all the stuff, promise me that you will be back next week. So here we go. This is what we're going to be working on. Voila. You can take a quick picture of this too if you'd like. But in your workbook, we are going to be working with pages 57 through 100. Pages 57 through 100. And we are going to be working and doing some hands-on work, building parts of a plan, building parts of a strategic plan. And I know some of us have more experience than others with this. So we understand that. But we are going to be building out pieces of the process. If you would make notes in your notes, pages 87 through page 91. Page 87 through page 91 and page 95. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Pages 87 through 91, pages 95, and I'm going to add one more, page 97. Again, I'm teeing us up for next week. We are going to work through all of these checkpoints that you see. We're going to work through all of these. The page numbers that I gave you, if you're able, you might want to just Xerox those copies separate from your workbook. So just Xerox another copy. It might be a little easier for you to handle than it being in your book. If you're not able to do that, no sweat. Just we can work through that. So again, page 87 through page, get back over here. What did I say? 91, 87 through 91, pages 97. Those are the pages. So if you're able to copy those separate from your workbook, that's great. If not, we'll work with it the way that we need to. So again, this is just a tee up for next week. The cadence is going to be similar to today. We're going to be building and building and building as we go throughout the session. But when we get to the end, you will have some hands-on experience building out pieces of the building out pieces of the process, and we'll walk you through that. Again, strategic planning. That's our topic for next week. If we could go back to the gallery, I want to query the group. Is there one or two organizations that are represented here where you have an example of a strategic plan that's digital or electronic? So we'd like to showcase one or two from the group. So if there are 2 or 3 of you that have a strategic plan, either there's a link on your website and it's public information, that would be great. Or if you can email it to us or pop it in the chat real quick, if you're okay with us using it. But we always like to use a couple in the session. Again, strategic planning. And team, it looks like, I don't know whose email we want to put in the chat for folks that have one that they want to email to us.
Cecilia's volunteering. Thank you.
Okay. We always like to use an example or, well,
Cecilia,
more than.
you have our our email address, right? Oh, how will you send it to us? Through email? Through what will you do?
Mhm. Yeah.
Maybe she's typing. I don't know.
Okay. Cool. It was great working with you today. I know I gave you a workout. I'm going to give you another workout next week. So just prepare yourselves, get ready. Mary, make sure you got that cup full. We're gonna be working at the same pace next week. It's my pleasure to work with you today. I'm going to turn it over to the team and they're going to officially close us out. Thank you so much for choosing our institute for your professional development and growth. Thank you.
So as I mentioned, again, I think in the beginning, thank you again, everyone. We go through our closing. You'll see our upcoming dates for the next few sessions that we have there. Please remember to, if you can, please take a moment to fill out our post follow-up evaluation. Again, it's very helpful to us. And again, if you're interested in membership, for we have a lot of resources, and especially keeping up now with everything that's going on in our sector, we try to put out information weekly as we hear about it to keep our sector informed. But we have a go to the next slide, please, for member benefits. You can see the usefulness of being a member of the center on webinars, publications that are coming out, and any additional information we have to share with you. So again, please, we'll be on for about 10 to 15 minutes after for any follow-up questions. So please feel free to join us. Thank you. See you next week, guys. Sarah, enjoy your bread. Dr.
Yes,
Palmer,
ma'am.
enjoy. If you go get some, eat some for us. I'm still thinking about it, as you can tell.
Oh.